Everybody, we're live now. Looks like we're a little bit early, so just giving a minute. Everybody who's got their uh, notifications on, just want to make sure they have a chance to log in with us here at YouTube Live with SBSK Weekly. It won't start teaching right away, so if you're watching this in the archive, go ahead and kick forward a minute or two. We're gonna give everybody a chance to log in and get till just after the 12 o'clock hour on the East Coast. Hey, it's another beautiful day here in Southeast Idaho where I am. I got a bunch of fresh snow this morning, got me a chance to get outside, do some shoveling. That was fun. Here there's 8 to 9 snows on average during December, so we'll see how that goes once we get going. Hey, as well as everybody out there, hey, I'm gonna once in a while I'm gonna throw a book up here. So here's a book. It's called, make sure you get that, Sources of Power, right? Sources of Power. I have this on my desk right now. You can see I've got notes in it, and I'm working on a project. But this book is by Gary Klein, and if you don't haven't heard of or haven't recognized the term recognition prime decision making or naturalistic decision making, that's what that book is about, and I consider it seminal work, really. If you haven't read it, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you read it. You can basically read anything by Gary, and you'll be good to go. All right, so it's just afternoon, and giving everybody a chance to log in. I'm checking the chat right now. Nothing up there yet, but hopefully we'll get some chat today. I know it's Thanksgiving, so if you're enjoying your time with your family, well, thank God for that. My house is full of some really good smells, right? I'm really looking forward to the dinner tonight. Have our little family pot over and enjoy a little bit of football, a little bit of food, and maybe some games and stuff later. I always like to remind people I'm want to grow the subscriber base. So if you know people out there in the industry in the fire service, and you think that they might they might benefit by being part of Reading Smoke Nation, then please recommend they subscribe. And if you hit your notifications and we go live, uh, it'll pop up on your screen and you can tune in. Then you'll know that I've got something new posted. As far as subscribers go, hey, shout out to Travis Velkamp, Evart Chief, Michael Kramer. I love this one. Shaz Butterfly Dances. Great online name. M. Siebert, Brandon Douglas, and Colin Krieger. Hopefully I got that right. And I appreciate everybody coming on board this week. We're over 200 subscribers now, and I really want to thank everybody that's helping get the word out, because last week's video was the first one that we had over 200 people watch it in the first week online. All right, so what we're talking about here today, before we get started, thank you out to the Cleveland Fire Department and the folks who posted this video is the Cleveland and Northeast Ohio firefighter videos. Those links are in the show notes, so if you want to check out some of their other stuff, have at it. And as always with Reading Smoke, we're not focused on tactics here. We're focused on just learning something about how to read the smoke from each of these videos that we watch. And let's get this one going right now. And what we really focused on today was a little bit later in the video, but we can see here already we've got relatively, on this side of the building, it's a pretty big building, but relatively low volume here. But with this size of a structure, means you probably have a pretty significant working fire. And they've been on scene for a while. It looks to me, right, it looks to me like they're switching over to some sort of a defensive operation. And we can see, even as this video clicks in and out, that there's a growing volume. This is more of a gray smoke. Not dark gray yet, I'd say sort of a medium gray, but pretty significant volume, although not a lot of turbulence as of yet. But we're going to very quickly switch to another side of the building here as we go in. And now, a completely different look at the structure from here. I mean, obviously we're on a different side. But the thing that we're talking about here is this white smoke. And there's an article, White Smoke Traps, that got published in Fire Engineering Magazine. I was co-author on that. And Rob Backer was lead author. He's out of Thornton, Colorado, captain out there, along with Dave Dodson. But some of the things that we look at when we're looking at white smoke is it steam, right? Is it clean, dissipating white? Is it possible that it's filtered, right? Which might mean it's black smoke on the other side of the wall, but as it goes through the cracks and seams, it could get filtered, or it could get filtered over distance. Like if it's traveling down a long hallway and then coming out an open window, it might lose a lot of the blackness, the soot, and the oil aerosols and stuff like that that's really sticky, sticks to the wall. And certainly if you go in a house fire or a building fire the day after, there's plenty of that stuff stuck to the wall. So, but we're focusing on here is one of the white smoke traps that we've had outreach from folks post-fire saying, hey, here's what I saw. And when you look at the day, it's a cold day like this one is, then even though we have really, so obviously, if we look at this, just start from the basics of VVDC, volume high, velocity. Look at the turbulence here, the churning that happens, even way up 30, 40, 50 feet away. So a lot of velocity means a lot of heat. Density, this is thick smoke, man. Look at it coming out of there. And look back here too. One of the things that we do get a little bit caught on sometimes is focusing on the near side versus the far side. Nick Salome pointed that out on the SBSK, that if we can look, I mean, look even out of this chimney, right? But high volume, turbulent, thick, and then if we look at the color is where we're talking about possibly getting trapped a little bit. If we're looking up here, right, we're looking at white or some version of gray. Whereas if we look right as it's coming out of these windows, that's black smoke. And so we want to make sure that when we have super cold conditions like it is on this day, right, you get snow on the ground. It's in Cleveland. I don't know what the temperature was that day, but because fire smoke has a high degree of humidity, right, or water vapor, right, within the volume, water vapor by volume, and we're going to take a look at that because had a couple of questions on the Facebook posts about, I was quoting a study from UL NIST, and here it is. This is part of their part 3 of their full scale tests, and what they talk about, right, is they talk about relative humidity and percent moisture in air, right? So what they use, because it's much, relative humidity is dependent on air temperature, right? Whereas percent moisture in air is not necessarily so. And they talk in this report about how the testing materials, the sensors and stuff are not that great, and they say not robust, right? Which means that they don't work that great in the fire environment, which certainly can be a challenge for those guys when they're trying to give us information. But when they look at percent moisture in air, in all of these tests, I mean, look, it went from concentration at ignition to just before they started applying water, and we're looking at, probably 3 times as much water vapor, right? And then you can actually notice in a lot of these, the water vapor 60 seconds after application, actually, like in this case, it goes down. It stays basically the same for all practical purposes. But just recognize that as the fire grows, because water in almost all these cases, the humidity or the water vapor in air goes up significantly between when the fire was lit and right before they opened the line to put the fire out, right? And this test is available. This report's available. Like if you haven't been to the UL FSRI site, man, you should spend some time there because there's so much to learn. All right, so back to the video here. And so what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at a lot of water vapor within this smoke. Water vapor percent by volume, but pretty high. And then when it comes out, because it's so cold outside, within a relatively short time after leaving, it starts to turn white and completely mixes. Now, one of the things I think is important here is it's just the relative color, right? This smoke up here is still pretty brownish gray, right? It's not, if we were looking at this as almost 100% water vapor, we'd be looking at clean, pristine, dissipating. Now, the rate at which it dissipates could definitely change because it's cold outside, but this just doesn't have that clean, pristine color to it. You can see it a little in a few places in here where you see some of that really clean color white, but by and large, the column itself is more of a really dirty white. We can also look at the velocity because we have this really significant turbulence coming out here, but we've got turbulence working all the way up here, 40, 50 feet from the structure, and on a really cold day, right? Which means that there's a pretty significant amount of heat being generated. I said they're in the defensive mode here, so they're working it. But we also want to make sure we're looking at the whole picture, right? What's it look like back here? What's it look like up here? And this is particularly true, or it has been based on what we've heard from folks. This is particularly true if you're end up back from the scene a little bit, say you're the incident commander, the operations section chief, when you want to be looking at this column and say, hey, they're hitting it hard and they're making progress because it's white. Well, take into account that it's cold out and take into account that it's more dirty, and then it's actually whiter at the base than it is as it goes up. As that water vapor dissipates, it becomes actually darker than it is down here, right? So a little bit counterintuitive and a little bit of a mental model that if you live in a cold environment, you know, it's 23 degrees here when I woke up this morning, you should be ready for this, okay? Now we get to see as the, assuming, that's what I think has happened here is I think the roof collapses and we come back and now we have, instead of smoke coming out, we basically have air going in. We have air going in the windows and coming out. And notice that because we have so much more heat being produced, the black carries out, right? And because it's a lot more ventilation, right? This is more fuel controlled than ventilation controlled. When it starts up, it maintains this black color because of just the total volume of heat, plus some of the fuel is being consumed, and now you see this, it's dark gray all the way up here, right? And so as we're looking at these things, we just want to be aware this white smoke traps like this one are reasonably rare, and obviously if you're living in Florida, right, you're not going to see this stuff, right? But if you're, you know, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, all across the north sections of the country, Pittsburgh, this is in Cleveland, right? Certainly it gets cold enough. I'd imagine Buffalo might have seen this once or twice, right? But if this is something that might happen where you are, it's just something good to be aware of and not get drug into thinking that, hey, we're winning this battle because the smoke is white. No, we're still losing, right? In this case, we're still losing, and they're in the defensive mode. And I'm just trying to learn from the smoke, right? I'm not judging their tactics. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just saying, hey, we can learn something from every video we see. We can learn something. All right, hey, this video was sent to me. Joe Pronesti sent it to me. If you haven't checked out his podcast on fireengineering.com, you should do that. He's got some great folks in there. David Decker, the chief, hey, we use his videos, or I use his videos pretty often on the SBSK and my YouTube Reading Smoke stuff here online. He's on there. Tony Carroll from DC, Sean Duffy, just a really great group of people who have a lot of knowledge. If you're looking for something to listen to while you're shoveling snow or mowing your lawn, check out his podcast. It's really, really good. Once again, I want to say thank you to everybody in the Cleveland Fire Department and the Cleveland, Ohio, and Northern Ohio firefighter videos for this video we have here today. And Reading Smoke Nation, again, help me spread the word. Let's get that subscriber base up. Hit those notifications if you're interested in knowing when I post something new. We'll be posting relatively soon on the SBASK site a little bit of a purpose statement. That lets you understand a little bit more about what I'm aiming for when I make these videos. And with that, I want everybody, hey, have a happy Thanksgiving. Really enjoy everything that we have to be thankful for. It's easy in this time, I think, to think about what we can't do, but what we can do is be thankful for what we have and have a bright future ahead of us. And with that, this is Phil Jose with the Art of Reading Smoke. I'm out.